We often picture ancient civilizations as dirty, dusty, and drenched in sweat. But the ancient Egyptians? They were obsessed with cleanliness. Long before modern soap, deodorant, or toothpaste, they had already mastered the art of staying fresh. For them, hygiene was not just about health, it was sacred. Priests washed several times a day. Ordinary people used homemade soaps, and even their breath had to smell divine. How did they manage to do it in the middle of the desert, thousands of years ago? Let's travel back in history to find their surprisingly advanced hygiene practices. Cleanliness was next to godliness. For ancient Egyptians, staying clean was not just a routine, it was a sacred duty. Hygiene was deeply linked to spirituality, health, and social status. In reality, the cleaner you were, the closer you were considered to the gods. This was most apparent among the priests. Before conducting any rituals, temple priests had to cleanse themselves, not just once, but 4 times a day. Morning, afternoon, evening, and nighttime. They would remove hair from their whole bodies, including their eyebrows, to avoid lice and maintain ritual cleanliness. It was thought that impurities offend the gods. That's why cleanliness was considered crucial for communicating with the divine. However, it was not just the priesthood. For many Egyptians, cleanliness was ingrained in their daily routines. The majority of homes, including modest ones, had basic basins for washing. Water from the Nile was utilized for everyday washing, and individuals frequently cleansed their hands and feet before meals. From an early age, children learned proper washing techniques, and in social contexts, sweat was viewed as both undesirable and disrespectful. In the scorching desert heat, body odor could become intolerable. Thus, keeping a fresh, scented body was essential. It was a sign of being civilized. Notably, numerous tomb inscriptions refer to the deceased as pure or clean, emphasizing the significance of hygiene, even in the afterlife. But staying clean was not just about washing with water. So what did they use as soap? Soap of the pharaohs. What did they use? When we consider soap nowadays, we picture foamy bars or scented body washes. The ancient Egyptians developed their natural solutions, made from basic, effective ingredients found in their surroundings. One of the most common materials was natron, a naturally occurring mineral salt that was gathered from dry lake beds. Natron was not only employed for mummification, it served as a strong cleanser as well. Egyptians combined it with water to cleanse their bodies, treat wounds, and wash their garments. Its coarse texture aided in removing dead skin, while its alkaline properties dissolved oils and sweat. Another common technique used animal fats and plant ashes, mixed to create a type of primitive soap paste. These oily, alkaline blends could eliminate dirt and oil after a long day in the harsh desert sun. More affluent Egyptians could incorporate essential oils or ground herbs into these mixtures, transforming cleanliness into a luxurious practice. Clay also had an important role. Specific varieties of fine clay and mud served as a natural cleanser for the body and were also applied as a facial mask. Clay was rich in minerals and also helped remove impurities and soothe the skin. Interestingly, soap-like recipes have been found inscribed on medical papyri, not only for cleanliness, but also for addressing skin issues. A combination of honey, sodium carbonate, and ground seeds could function as both a cleanser and a remedy. These cleaning techniques weren't exclusively for the wealthy. Ordinary Egyptians prepared their simple pastes using the most affordable ingredients. It shows that hygiene was observed among all social classes. But staying clean in a desert civilization was not easy. So, how did they bathe? Where did they get all the water? Bathing practices and water access. Maintaining hygiene in the ancient Egyptian desert was not as simple as turning on a tap. With no running water and modern plumbing, bathing demanded creativity and a strong connection to nature, particularly the Nile River. For many Egyptians, the Nile served not only as the essential support for agriculture and transportation, but also as their primary water supply for cleansing and bathing. People would step into its shallow banks or collect water in large clay pots, carrying it back to their homes to fill stone or earthen basins. During warmer months, numerous Egyptians took baths outdoors, frequently in courtyards or gardens, where privacy was not a significant issue. The wealthy elite, in contrast, enjoyed more luxurious arrangements. In noble families, servants would pour water over their masters with jars, creating a simple shower. Certain houses featured specific washing areas, equipped with elevated surfaces to keep feet clean and dry. Water was carefully stored and reused because every drop was precious in such a dry climate. To save water, people often used dry scrubbing with natron or sand, and then rinsed with a small amount of water. They required neither deep tubs nor pools, only a small application of what nature offered. Temples and palaces had ritual washing areas, particularly for priests who needed purification several times a day. Water was poured from decorated containers, and strict protocols determined how and when to purify each section of the body. Bathing represented more than just physical cleansing. It served as a spiritual renewal, removing not only dirt, but also spiritual impurity. But washing was not the only part of the story. The ancient Egyptians also loved to smell fresh. Perfumes, oils, and deodorants. For the ancient Egyptians, cleanliness was not truly achieved without a pleasant fragrance. In reality, scent was just as crucial as hygiene itself. Fragrances were more than mere cosmetics. They held spiritual, therapeutic, and significant cultural meanings. Fragrances were created using a remarkable variety of natural materials: myrrh, frankincense, cinnamon, sweet flag, lilies, lotus flowers, and others. These were ground, distilled, or infused into animal fats and plant oils to produce rich, long-lasting fragrances. The wealthy often kept them in beautifully decorated alabaster or ceramic containers, numerous examples of which still exist in tombs today. A truly captivating ancient Egyptian creation was the scented wax cone. These tiny cones, made from scented animal fat, were worn on the head during celebrations and rituals. As the cone gradually melted from body warmth, it released a gentle, pleasant fragrance that would scent both the wearer and the room. But what about deodorant? Ancient Egyptians tackled body odor using self-made remedies. They crushed components such as natron, baking soda, cinnamon, citrus rinds, and fragrant herbs to create pastes or powders. These were applied under the arms or on garments to conceal or absorb undesirable odors. Certain wealthy Egyptians would apply fragrant oils post-bathing, similar to modern roll-on deodorants. Aside from social contexts, scent also contributed to healing and protection. Specific oils were thought to protect against illness or evil forces, and numerous ones were part of burial ceremonies to assist the deceased in moving to the afterlife with grace and cleanliness. Having a pleasant scent was not just about attraction, it was about status, belief, and identity. The next step was grooming, especially hair. So, how did ancient Egyptians deal with body hair, shaving, and style? Hair removal and grooming. In ancient Egypt, hair was not regarded as a symbol of beauty. It was often considered messy, dirty, and unattractive, particularly in the scorching desert climate. This is why both men and women practiced regular hair removal, not only for aesthetics, but also for hygiene. It was common to shave the head and the body. The elite, priests, and royalty often chose to be entirely bald, thinking it was the most hygienic lifestyle. Priests, specifically, needed to remove all body hair every few days to maintain ritual purity. Body lice were also a concern, and hair removal lowered the risk of infestation. For this purpose, Egyptians used copper or bronze razors with flat, curved blades that were sharpened for use on the face and body. They also used metal tweezers, pumice stones for smoothing rough areas, and sharp seashells or flint for removing or scraping off hair in ancient times. But hair was not completely abandoned. It was replaced with wigs. Shaved heads created a smooth foundation for intricate, carefully crafted wigs made from human hair, palm fibers, or wool. These wigs were styled, scented, and occasionally braided with gold or beads. Wigs provided relief from the heat and could be taken off effortlessly, promoting better scalp hygiene. Likewise, facial hair was also removed. Beards were uncommon, although pharaohs wore fake beards to signify power. Smooth faces were viewed as young and appropriate. Nails were also cleaned and filed, with kohl eyeliner and henna being included in everyday grooming, not just for beauty, but for health and protection as well. In short, grooming in Egypt was not vanity. It was discipline and commitment. But being clean also meant wearing clean clothes. So, how did Egyptians handle laundry and fabric care in such a dusty world? Linen and laundry. In ancient Egypt, cleanliness extended beyond the body to include the clothes you wore. For the Egyptians, linen was more than just fabric. It represented purity. The majority of Egyptians, irrespective of their social status, wore linen clothing. Made from the flax plant, linen was airy, lightweight, and ideal for the intolerable heat. The perfect linen was white, bright, fresh, and flawless. A spotless white tunic symbolized purity, respectability, and often religious dedication. How did they keep it clean? Laundry was performed with water, natron, and ash, sometimes blended into a type of soapy mixture. Clothes were cleaned by hand or stomped with feet in big basins. Once rinsed, they were spread out in the sun to dry, and the intense Egyptian sun served as a natural bleaching agent, helping to restore whiteness. The wealthy households had servants or professional laundresses who washed clothes. For ordinary people, it was a regular task, typically performed along the Nile's banks or in designated village spots. Staying clean was not just about washing, it was also about wearing clean clothes. But what about their teeth and breath? How did they manage oral hygiene without modern tools? Dental hygiene and breath fresheners. In ancient Egypt, cleanliness also included oral hygiene, even without the aid of modern tools. Egyptians utilized tooth powders composed of crushed eggshells, rock salt, and herbs such as myrrh. These coarse mixtures helped in scrubbing teeth and refreshing breath. They utilized chew sticks instead of toothbrushes. These were small twigs with one end frayed to form natural bristles. These sticks cleaned the teeth and also stimulated the gums. To combat bad breath, Egyptians chewed frankincense, peppermint, cinnamon, or honey-coated herbs. These natural breath fresheners were particularly vital for priests and nobles who needed to maintain purity during ceremonies or social events. Dental problems were common, primarily because of their rough bread, which often had sand from the stone grinding. As time passed, this eroded enamel, leading to tooth discomfort and infections. But despite those challenges, Egyptians made efforts to maintain clean mouths and fresh breath. Oral care, like body care, was part of their broader belief that cleanliness represented discipline and respect. Hygiene in temples, palaces, and homes. In ancient Egypt, hygiene was practiced everywhere, from temples to homes. Priests followed strict routines, washing several times a day and using ceremonial basins to maintain spiritual purity. Maintaining cleanliness was crucial for establishing a connection with the divine. In regal palaces, grooming was a more luxurious affair. Servants poured water on nobles, and fragrant oils were kept in decorative vessels. Ordinary people used clay bowls, natron, and basic soaps for their daily washing routines. Washing was performed in courtyards or close to the Nile. Egyptians thought that hygiene brought health, order, and divine approval. It influenced their way of life and their religious practices. From head to toe, the ancient Egyptians took hygiene seriously, combining practicality with spirituality. Their everyday practices reveal how deeply devoted they were to cleanliness and order. In a world without modern tools, they found countless methods to stay fresh. Like this journey? Share your thoughts in comments. Share and subscribe for more stories.